Thank you, Peter. Yeah, so let's have a look at this Mishnah. Lamed Omid Base. Now, this subject, of course, flows from the previous Mishnayos, which often happens. We were speaking about Rosh Hashanah, and we spoke about a takana of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Having done that, the Mishnayos now look at other takonos decrees that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. And we have another one here. We will eventually get back to Rosh Hashanah, but as often happens in Mishnayos and Gemara, as the subject mentioned this, then it flows. Don't forget, it was all years ago. It was all Baal Peh, so it was all committed to memory. So if a subject's been mentioned, often that subject will flow through. And here is another example. Before we actually, this is to do with Rosh Hashanah, but it's really not to do with the tekiyah, so the blowing of the shofar. But nevertheless, let's have a look. Lamed Omid Base. So Malcolm, Land's End, you've got your Gemara with you. Well, you don't need it actually because Peter sent the link.
I've got it. I've got it.
So that you've got it. Absolutely good. Bori Shoina. Here we are. Originally. This goes back to what we've seen in the previous parokim. They would accept the Eidus HaChodesh, which means, as we know all about that, remember? Eidim coming to say they've seen the new moon. And what they would do then, they would come rushing off to Bezdin, and Bezdin would then pronounce based on if they were happy with those Eidim, and they were sure that actually it was the moon and not some other shape of the clouds, maybe. So maybe they would, because of their astronomical knowledge, they will be able to tell exactly where that moon should have been. And they would quiz them, not necessarily anything trying to pull wool over the eyes of the Bezdin, but really just to make sure it really was the new moon. And then they would sanctify that moon. Now, they would accept that the Eidos, Kol Hayom, all day, which is fair enough. Palm Achas, it once happened, Nishtahu hu Eidim Lovai, that Eidim were late. Not that they were busy doing other things, but until they actually arrived at the Bezdin, maybe coming from, I don't know where, somewhere there in Israel. They arrived there and they got there very late. And what happened? Niskalklu halavim b'shir. There was a mistake made with the shir. The shir is the song that the Leviim sang with the korbanos, and an error happened because of this. Now we'll have to understand what that means. Rashi doesn't want to go into it at this point, and therefore Rashi on the Mishnah says halavim b'shir b'gmara mafarish. It says the Rashi, I'll leave that for the Gemara to explain. I'll explain more later on. And the Gemara, what was the error? What happened? What went wrong? And that we'll need to have a look at in the Gemara. So, because of that, Hiskinu, he therefore instituted Shalo, Hiskinu in the plural. That's the Rabbonim of the time instituted. Shelo Yehu Makablim Elo Ad Hamincha. They can only accept witnesses up to the Mincha time. The Mincha here means remember the Korban, the continual offering, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So later on in the afternoon, up to that point, they would accept the witnesses. Now, this actually happened on Rosh Hashanah. So they were waiting anxiously. Did anyone see the moon the previous night? If they saw the moon the previous night, they would come to Bezdin. Bezdin would then pronounce, today is Rosh Hashanah. Let's make this a little bit clearer. The previous day, I don't know, there we go, let's say a Sunday night. Sunday was the 29th of El. example, okay? In my example, 29th of Elul. Monday is either the 30th of Elul, or in fact, it could now become Rosh Chodesh, because as we know, there are 29 and a half days it takes for the moon to go round the earth. So you have 29, 30, 29, 30, but it depends when they saw the moon. So Sunday night is now going into the 30th. That might be Rosh Hashanah. If witnesses saw the moon on Sunday night, they will come to Beis Din and say, we saw the moon. The Rabbonim would check them out. And if, yes, it was the moon, they would announce that day is Rosh Hashanah. If nobody comes to Beis Din on Monday, then what will Monday be? Monday will be 30th. Not a normal Monday. Monday will be the 30th. It will not be Rosh Hashanah, but Rosh Hashanah will be the day after Tuesday. You with me? Right.
So when would they blow the shofar? I mean,
this is all very fascinating stuff here. So they were unsure whether Monday was Rosh Hashanah. Might be Tuesday, might be Monday. What would they do? And not only that, there are problems now, you see, because, as we'll learn, the Levium, as we say every day, there's the daily Levium right at the end of Shabbos, that the Levium would sing one of the Tehillim together with the Korban in the morning and in the afternoon. There'd be a Musaf as well. We'll get to that in a minute. But they would change around. If it was Yom Tov, it was a different song and a different Tehillim that was said if it was Yom Tov, right? Now, if they don't know whether it's Yom Tov or not, they've got a bit of a problem here. Is it Yom Tov or is it a normal Monday? They don't know yet until the witnesses come. And if the witnesses don't come, it turns out the Monday was a normal working day called Monday. And Tuesday will be Yom Tov. So you're right that there's a bit of a quandary here. What are they going to do? Now, says the Mishnah that, back to Simon's point, yes, everybody would assume that Monday may well be Yom Tov. So they would assume it's Yom Tov. They'd behave as if it's Yom Tov. That'd be the shofar too, assuming it might be Yom Tov. If the witnesses came, then yes, they would announce that day Yom Tov. The following day would therefore be the 2nd of the month. With me? Monday would be Rosh Hashanah, the 1st of Tishri. Tuesday will be the 2nd of Tishri. Now, the only people that would know would be those people very close to the Beis Din on the Monday. Anybody who's not close to the Beis Din, and because it's right at the beginning of the month, very hard for anybody to know further out than just around Yerushalayim area, they wouldn't yet know what day was Rosh Hashanah. So you can see clearly what's happening here. That's how we have the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. It could have been Monday or Tuesday. Now in the Beis Din, or they're waiting, the Beis HaMikdash, what song, I don't know which actual tune it was, but which Tehillim will it be? Probably the tune changed too. Was it a weekday or was it a Yom Tov? Now, they came late.
Presumably, it's Kish Shofar to make a bracha, right?
Yes.
Which
yes. Doesn't matter. They would say today is Yom Tov, and the Chachomim would say blow the shofar, right? But look what would happen if they came late. What do you mean they came late? And they made a mistake with the song. So it sounds like they'd already offered up. Something went wrong here. And the afternoon offering, they assumed the witnesses weren't going to come. Right? So you'll tell me now, which means it was a weekday. Why did they bother to blow the shofar? Hold on. And then the Eidim rolled up. They'd assumed it was a weekday, and then suddenly they rolled up. Now, people further away from Yerushalayim wouldn't know anyway. They'd have to assume today that Monday is going to be Rosh Hashanah. They don't know. But they got it wrong in the Beis HaMikdash as far as what song, what Tehillim to sing. Because they came late and it was all over. They'd already brought the korban in the afternoon. And you can announce until night, you can announce today is Rosh Hashanah. The witnesses came late. It was all over. They assumed the witnesses weren't going to come. We'll see what they did. And therefore, then the witnesses rolled up. So something went wrong, we'll see in a minute, because they didn't know the witnesses were going to come. They were looking and said their watches, and it was time to bring the afternoon offering, the Talmud in the afternoon. The witnesses aren't there. They assume they're not coming. Something went wrong. And then they rolled up. Too late. They'd already offered up the afternoon offering, but not too late for them to announce that today is Rosh Hashanah. Hold on. They therefore made the following ruling. This is whilst there's a Beis HaMikdash. Hiskinu, they instituted, Shelo Yehei Mekablin Ela Adam Mincha. This makes it very easy. If they don't come by the time we're about to bring the afternoon Talmud, we're not going to accept them. And the Beis Din can do that. The Beis Din are going to say, I know you've rolled up. They come 10 minutes later. They say, we're not accepting you today. We could, it's still in the day, but it's up to the Beis Din. Remember, we said this before. It's up to Beis Din to pronounce when is Rosh Chodesh, or in this case, when is it Rosh Hashanah. And what would happen? If witnesses did roll up after Mincha, which means after the afternoon offering, they'd say, sorry, hang on. We're not accepting you today. We'll listen to you, but we're not making it now. We're not announcing today is Rosh Hashanah. But nevertheless, Nagin Oisa Yom Kodesh, they would still continue to behave as if that day, Monday, was Kodesh, means it was Rosh Hashanah. We'll see the Rashi's in a moment. Olamacha Kodesh as well. The next day, the Tuesday, of course, would really be the Rosh Hashanah. And that meant even in Yerushalayim, they will be keeping 2 days Rosh Hashanah. You may well say that first day was wrong. It's true. They didn't know, but they had nothing else they could do. So they have to assume that it's going to be Rosh Hashanah. The only difference will be if witnesses did come on that day, on the Monday. If you lived in Yerushalayim nearby, Tuesday could be a day that you could go to work because you'd know that Tuesday certainly was not Rosh Hashanah. Let's have a look at the Rashi, please. Hopefully it'll become a little bit clearer, or a lot clearer. Noagim Oise Yom Kodesh. So what's the rule? Mervin's got his hand up, I think. Does that mean he's asking a question or just saying hello? A yellow hand from Mervin? Or did you just press the, just to show you're there? But we have got a hand from Malcolm.
Can I just quickly ask where the Rashi is? Sorry,
yes,
exactly.
On the side.
On which side?
There's Masnisin. Well, in mine it'll be on the left.
Yeah,
and
it's on
yours
the left-hand side.
Left-hand side.
And it's on the
and when it says
lines.
Mishnah,
1, 2, 3, 4,
it's
5,
about
6,
10 narrow lines down.
10 narrow lines down.
something like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask something, but Malcolm, as usual, butted in. Never mind, I'm joking. It's
no. Well, can we just have a look at the Rashi first? Because this may become clearer with this. I'm not pushing you off. Well, I am.
No, fine. That's fine.
But hold on. Have a look at the Rashi, and then by all means come back with your yellow hand, which is showing here. Okay. So have a look at this. Have you got it, Mishnah? Benji's with us. Good evening. Etc. Have you got that, Malcolm? Halavi and Bashir. They made a mistake regarding the song that they should have sung, and the Tehillim together with it. There will be the lyrics, the Tehillim, together with the song. They got it wrong. What exactly they got wrong? What did they do wrong? We'll find out in the Gemara. So they made a rule. These are the rabbis made a rule. This is before the destruction. We haven't yet got to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and what he's going to do, but we'll hold on to that. So if the witnesses roll up and come after they've offered up the afternoon offering, the Talmud, remember the lamb in the morning and the lamb in the afternoon, then Noagim Osa Yom Kodesh. That day, although they've already brought the afternoon and they've already said we're not accepting witnesses, so you might have said, in which case, Monday is a normal Monday working day. Nope. They said that Monday is going to be Kodesh. It isn't really, but continue Rashi. Rosh Hashanah koi. We're talking here, if it was Rosh Hashanah, not just Rosh Chodesh Adar, because it wouldn't be Kodesh, but the same principle applies, but it's even more pronounced when you get to Rosh Hashanah. Why? In my example, Sunday was the 29th. Sunday night is the night going out of 29. Noagu Kodesh. Everybody always imagined and behaved as if it was Rosh Hashanah. Why? Shema Yovoyu Eidim Lamocha. Maybe the witnesses will come tomorrow on a Monday, and they will say, we saw the moon last night, in which case today, Monday, is Rosh Hashanah. Vi Kadeshu Bezdin, Bezdin in that instance would sanctify the Chodesh, the month. V'nimtza, therefore, what that means is Shahalaylo Hazeh, sounds a bit like Pesach, Halaylo Hazeh, but not quite. Halaylo Hazeh, that night was Leil Yom Tov. Who? It was the night of Yom Tov. So, quite right. Very good that they actually kept that. Actually, in most instances, it would be Choser. We've had that point before, when nowadays, of course, in the calendar, which is fixed, Elul is always 29. And we've had that before mentioned in the Gemara. Almost always, it goes 29:30, 29:13. And the way it worked with the calendar was that Elul was 29. Anyway, they weren't certain until the witnesses come. So they would have behaved as if it's Rosh Hashanah. Again, Shahalaylo Azeh Leil Yom Tov. Who? And similarly, the following day, Kol Hayom. So you're quite right, Simon. They would have blown the shofar too, Ad HaMincha, until it got to Mincha, the afternoon korban. V'imbo Eidim Kodim HaMincha. If the witnesses came before that afternoon offering was brought, Bezdin Makadshim as a Chodesh. Fair enough. The Bezdin would sanctify the Chodesh. Monday would be Rosh Hashanah. It will be the first of Tishri. For Noida, it would then become known Sheyofer Nohagu Bokodesh. It was quite right. The fact that last night and today they behaved as if it's Rosh Hashanah because it turned out to be Rosh Hashanah. Okay, now this is the tricky bit. They're about to bring the afternoon offering. So they're now got a quandary. Is it going to be Rosh Hashanah or not? They don't have that quandary anymore because the ruling is once they're bringing the afternoon offering, sorry, it's too late. We are not making today Rosh Hashanah. But look what they'll do. Even though they're not going to accept them to make today the holy day of Rosh Hashanah. It's now a normal Monday, and the Tehillim would be a normal Monday Tehillim with a song. Nevertheless, this is interesting. V'yavru es Elul, v'yabru es Elul, which means they will make Elul a little bit longer, that extra day. Yeah, remember every month can be 29 or 30. If they're not accepting the witnesses on the Monday, it means that Elul was 30 days. That's v'yabru. It will become extra, like a Mu'beres, a little bit larger. V'yekadshu l'mocha. Tomorrow, Tuesday, will be Rosh Hashanah. But what about Monday then? Afal PK, even so, Goimrim Oiso Biktusha. They continue with Monday, behaving as if it is Rosh Hashanah with the blessing of the rabbis. Why do they do that? For Osa Bimlocha, it still becomes forbidden. It's all midrabanan now. It becomes forbidden to do work on that Monday. Because even though the witnesses didn't come by Mincha, by the time we got to Mincha, they didn't come. In other words, they behaved as far as the korbanos are concerned as if it's a weekday, but everybody should treat Monday like a Yom Tov. So Monday was always treated like a Yom Tov. You with me? Dilma, why did they do that? Because imagine, the witnesses don't come by the time it gets to Mincha, which means really Monday is a weekday. If announcements went up and said, today is a weekday, you've got a couple of hours, get into the office if you want to. You can still do whatever you want to do because it's only a weekday. If people would now hear and they would treat it from then on, do you with me? The witnesses don't come, in which case Monday is a weekday. If they tell everybody we're not accepting the witnesses anymore today, which means tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah, today is a weekday. If everybody went back to work, once that announcement came out from the Bezdin, Osi, next line of Rashi, Osi lilazil zule be'lashon haba. Next year, people will treat it with what they say a zilzal. They'll belittle that day. What does that mean? V'yasu bo malocha kol hayom. In night and during the day, they would behave. The witnesses haven't come yet. They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to work today." Why? V'yomru, they'll say, "Eshtakad, last year, nohagnu bo kodesh chinom. We didn't go to work. We lost a day in the business. It was wrong. The witnesses didn't come. They announced subsequently that it was a weekday. We're not taking that chance. Business is business. What will happen this year will probably be the same as last year. If we don't go to work, we'll find out at the end of the day that really it was a weekday. So therefore, we won't treat it like Yom Tov. But what will happen in the following year may well be that the witnesses do arrive before Mincha, and that day was Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, they'll say, last year we behaved as if it was Kodesh Chinom, unnecessarily. And then just by Mincha, just at the time of Mincha, there was an announcement saying, no, you can go to work. And we behaved as if from then on as if it's a weekday, but we lost a couple of hours in the business, in the work. So therefore, people will treat it with disdain. They'll treat it with a zilzul. To avoid that, the Chachomim said the following. Everybody should treat that Monday, which is now the 30th, they will treat it like Yom Tov. If the witnesses come, great, it really was Yom Tov. If the witnesses don't come in time, we will still treat it like Yom Tov to ensure that in future years, everybody will behave as if it's Yom Tov. It may well in future years that 30th be a Yom Tov. So therefore, to avoid any mistakes, everybody should treat the 30th like as a Yom Tov. If the witnesses come, then they will announce tomorrow is a working day. If the witnesses don't come in time, they will say tomorrow will be the second day of Yom Tov. And that's how you have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. So that avoided any problems with the Korbanos by the time they got to Mincha, because they would treat it like a weekday as far as the Korbanos are concerned. So the song accompanying the afternoon off was a weekday Monday song, but they treated the day like Yom Tov to avoid any future mishaps and problems. Are you with me? And the Gemara will
if
go.
the witnesses did come, before Mincha, then they would make that day Kodesh.
Yes.
And the next day would be Chol.
Correct.
But how would they
Not
get
many
them?
people would know, because I mean, it's not like the 15th, like Pesach and Sukkot, where you got a couple of weeks to get messages out to people. Of course,
Yeah, I'm asking, how would anybody know? Because the witnesses, were they allowed to go out
very close? You're true. Unless you're very close to the Beis Din on that Monday, and you could find out what's been going on. In many instances, they would come earlier on in the morning, so they would find out early on in the morning that tomorrow will be a normal working day. But if you were further away, further afield, you couldn't possibly know that, and you'd have to have 2 days Yom Tov. And that's really the beginning of the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah.
That means you keep 3 days. I mean, if the Monday you would keep anyway, regardless.
Yes.
And then the next Eidim didn't come at all Monday, because they didn't know there were no Eidim on the Monday. They came on the Tuesday. So you got Tuesday and Wednesday for those people outside Yerushalayim. They keep 3 days Yom Tov every year.
No.
Well, how they? Oh, they would. Yeah.
They would know that they're keeping. It's either going to be 30 or 20. That's a 30 or 29. It's never more than that.
Yeah.
So you'd keep both those days, and you're covered. Malcolm.
Yeah. Just to go back to the, I think Mervyn made that point before about the shofar blowing. So let's say you did actually find out too late.
What do you mean by too late?
I mean, if it was like they instituted before, that if it was after Mincha, then they wouldn't regard it. But you should behave as if it was Yom Tov. Well, it is Yom Tov, but you're still keeping the next day.
Yes.
So are you?
That's what we're doing today. We're blowing 2 days. Sorry, carry on. I'm interrupting.
No. So are you? So at that point, are you then? Is it then an obligation to blow the shofar after Mincha?
Yes. In that day, well, not after Mincha. You would have blown it in the morning. You'd assume that it will be Yom Tov. If it's not Yom Tov, it doesn't matter, because they made an institution midrabanon to blow the shofar come what may. It may turn out that it really was the first day. It may turn out it's not.
I thought you meant that if they said that it wasn't,
then they're never going to say it.
If they say that it was, if they come and they say that it wasn't Yom Tov, as it were,
if they come,
then are you still saying that they're keeping it as if it was?
Correct. You've got to keep it as if it's Yom Tov, irrespective of whether the witnesses come or not. If they come, well and good. If they don't come, we didn't know in the morning, in the evening, and the previous evening whether they would come or not. So you've got to keep it like you're unsure. But even if the witnesses don't come by Mincha, by the time you get to Mincha, which means for sure, you've seen the Eidim rolling up, and you know they're not going to accept them today. Tomorrow is going to be Rosh Hashanah. You've still got to behave as if that Monday is Rosh Hashanah. That was the ruling they made to avoid any mishap, which means it's midrabanan. And that's exactly what we've got today. We've got 2 days Rosh Hashanah today. Only one day can be the first of the month.
Yeah. Can I? Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, Sam.
Yeah. Yes, sorry. I just want to ask, if the Edim came on time, does this mean that they've kept yesterday?
No. What does on time mean? Imagine they see the moon on Sunday night. They will come to Beis Din on Monday. Imagine they get there very early in the morning, and they're allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos and Yom Tov for that. We've seen that before.
Okay.
They're psukim to say. So they get in their car or whatever was available at the time, on their wagon, on their horses and whatever, and they come running to the Beis Din. In the morning, assuming they get there in the morning, the Beis Din, yes, they check up. Absolutely. You saw the moon. We're happy with that. Today is the first of the month. Then an announcement will go out saying, today for sure is the first of the month. Anybody who hears this message can go to work tomorrow.
So it means 1 day Rosh Hashanah.
For those people nearby Yerushalayim that would have known. But how many people would have heard that? Not many.
Okay.
It's hard to get that message out, you see. Yeah. That means everybody else would be keeping 2 days because they won't know until another day or two what day they came.
Okay, can I just follow that up? What happens if they come early?
Yes.
And they say they haven't seen it?
Sorry, they come early. Why are they coming if they haven't seen it?
To say they haven't seen it.
What do you mean?
Okay, so they're only coming when they've seen it.
They see the moon Sunday night. They come on Monday. Beis Din would check up to make sure they really did see the moon and not something, I wouldn't say a Sputnik, but, or even whatever it would be. It really was, it was in the right place. And as I say, because of their knowledge of astronomy, they would know exactly where it should appear, how big it should be, the shape, etc. And they will say, yes, you saw it. If it's a very clear night in Elul, in Yerushalayim, it may well be the Beis Din themselves saw it, in which case we've learned all about that. 2 witnesses would, out of the actual Dayanim, could act as the witnesses and say, we saw the moon in front of others. So it may be very clear to a lot of people close to Yerushalayim that, they must have seen the moon, in which case the next day, they'd wait to hear for sure, and the next day would be a working day. Yeah, but if you were further afield, you wouldn't know. So you'd have to hold both days. It's interesting, though. So if you're actually blowing the shofar on 2 days, one of them is Min HaTorah, and one of them is Midrabanan, but you don't know which one. It may well be the Monday is the correct date, and the Tuesday, well, we didn't hear in time, so we had Tuesday. Or it may be Monday was not the correct date, and that was the Midrabanan, and the real one was on the Tuesday, which really means you've got to, each one you're behaving as if it's Min HaTorah. You don't know which one it is. Yeah. And another question from somebody somewhere. I think there was, or was there not? No.
Yes. Norman,
yes.
Did I hear you correctly to say that the Shiur Shel Yom was said on the first day, irrespective of it being declared a Yom Tov? So essentially,
that's the point. Oh, well, we're going to see something went wrong. Before this ruling came in, something went wrong. They were looking, where are the Eidim? It's Monday afternoon. You may well ask, what happened Monday morning? What did they do Monday morning? We'll get to that in a minute. So Monday afternoon, they don't know. Are the witnesses coming? If the witness is coming, if they do appear, then we will say the Yom Tov Tehillim, the Yom Tov tune, but they don't know what to do. So they're not coming. So what they did, we'll see in a minute. They got it wrong. We're not quite sure what wrong means at the moment. Then they made the following ruling. We are not, once the people, the Kohanim, are ready to offer up the afternoon offering, I'm sorry, it's too late. We put a notice up. witnesses not accepted anymore, not for today, which means, therefore, that they would sing the Tehillim and the tune for a weekday.
Even though it's Yom Tov.
Even though, no, it's not Yom Tov. They know for sure it's not Yom Tov. That's the point. They're not going to accept those witnesses. The witnesses may have seen the moon on Sunday night, but they're not.
I thought you said that day would have to be Yom Tov.
No,
the 29th.
You're right. As far as the korbanos are concerned, the kohanim, they would only offer up a normal weekday offering with the tunes and the tehillim for a weekday. But everybody would behave as if it was a Yom Tov. So, shofar, it's Yom Tov, no going to work. You're right. It's a bit of a contradiction here.
Yeah.
But because it's
not like driving to shul, isn't it, on Shabbos? It's a bit of a contradiction.
No, but
it's almost the exact parallel.
But they have to make a rule. Nobody can drive to shul on Yom Tov. Although in the Beis Hamikdash themselves, for the afternoon offering, they would sing, and it will be the Tehillim for a normal Monday afternoon.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Now, continues the Mishnah.
So, Norman, would there be circumstances where there would be just one day in the Beis Hamikdash and 2 days in the rest of Israel?
Yes. Yes. Quite often, I would have thought. Especially if you're up north, you couldn't possibly know whether the Eidim came or not, or whether they were accepted. You wouldn't know. And therefore, you're absolutely right. That's really where you've got, even in Eretz Yisrael, normally, of course, you've got only one day Yom Tov in Eretz Yisrael. That means because by the, let's say, Pesach, by the time you get to the 15th, then yes, even in those days, they could send their messengers out, and everywhere in Eretz Yisrael would know exactly the day when was Rosh Chodesh. They'll know when Pesach is, and they know when Sukkot. They'll also know Shavuos, actually, because that follows from Pesach. But leaving that aside, on Rosh Hashanah, the problem is Rosh Hashanah is the first of the month. So very few people close to Yerushalayim, yes, any person further out, Tel Aviv or anywhere else, they wouldn't know. So they'd have to have 2 days Yom Tov, even in Eretz Yisrael in those times. You wouldn't know. However, let's just finish this Mishnah, continues the Mishnah, Mishechorav Beis Hamikdash, and this is really the link to the previous Mishnayos. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, now what? What change should take place once the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed? Sadly, no korbanos are being brought. They are still announcing, and the Eidim are still coming. That goes on for quite some while after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. They were still announcing when Rosh Chodesh was, based on visibility and seeing the moon, right? Now, let me ask you this, gentlemen. What change now can take place if there is no Beis Hamikdash? Well, the answer is there's no worry about getting the wrong Tehillim with the korbanos, with the korban in the afternoon, because there is no korban in the afternoon, which means now, says the Mishnah, Mishechora Beis Hamikdash, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Sheyu Makablim Eidos HaChodesh Kol Hayom. You can go right up to you can go right up to the end of the day to accept the witnesses. You with me? So, right, yes, everybody should behave as if that day was Rosh Hashanah. And you'd, right up to the end of the day, if witnesses came 5 minutes before sunset, it may well be the Dayanim would check, yeah, okay, today was Rosh Hashanah. Right up to the end. You don't have to now leave it and make a decision because you don't know what to do with this korban in the afternoon, because there is no korban in the afternoon. So all we're saying is at that point, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted that we will go back to the ruling as it was before and accept the witnesses right up to the end of the day, which will mean, therefore, if you're in Yerushalayim, you could go to work on the following day, in many instances, because the witnesses could be accepted right up to the end of the day. Okay?
After the Churban Beis Hamikdash, the Beis Din was sitting in Yerushalayim. It wasn't going on in Yerushalayim, was it? It was they moved to Yavne.
Oh, you're quite right. No, absolutely right. They were moving. In fact, there were 10 stops. There were 10 places they went to.
The places really that would have had the one that is not Yerushalayim.
Yes, it's close to wherever the Beis Din is. You're quite right, Simon. Absolutely. And the Mishnah, the Gemara later on will explain where they went from. I wouldn't say pillar to post, but pretty much they're being chased from one place to another, and the Beis Din's moving around after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. But you're quite right. It's close to where the Beis Din is, and as we explained before, it's normally the Rosh Beis Din. The head of the Beis Din is the one who's announcing it. Very similar to we've found with Moshe and Aaron. Remember, it's Moshe HaChodesh Hazem, right at the beginning of chapter Yud Beis, which we will lane for Parshas HaChodesh. No, yeah, that's right, for Parshas HaChodesh. We laned it, of course, in Parshas Bo, coming up again, Parshas HaChodesh. HaChodesh is Elochem. And remember, it's up to Moshe and Aaron, and the ruling is it's the Rosh Beis Din who would pronounce today is Rosh Chodesh. But if you were nearby, then you would know, and especially if you're accepting witnesses right up to the end of the day, you could know that, as I say, right up, and therefore possibly the next day, if you're in close by, you could be going to work, and it would be chol, a normal weekday. Okay, right. Says the Gemara.
That's one other thing. If the messengers went out after they announced Rosh Chodesh,
yes,
so people would hear on the second day, during the course of the day, people were going further and further. So they would hear that yesterday was Rosh Chodesh. So presumably from the point where they heard that it was Rosh Chodesh yesterday, they could then break off at that point.
Yes, they could. But there's no problem with that, because even in the following year, they're always going to keep the first day as Rosh Chodesh, and they will continue the second day until they actually, get a green light, as it were. Yes. Okay. Right. Says the Gemara.
Can I just ask something? Because I've really struggled with the whole thing, partly because it's not just stopping people from going from work, it's stopping people putting on tefillin, and there must be so many other problems that arise if we've kept a day yontif which wasn't. So can I go back to Malcolm's suggestion that why don't we accept negative evidence? If it was a clear night and the Beis Din know exactly where to look, what to look for, why didn't they have people looking out who would then say, no, we've looked in the right place, there was nothing there, it can't be today. It just seems to me we could have done more to clarify which day is Yontif.
When you say we're looking out, what do you mean by we're looking out? It was a cloudy, as we've seen here.
If it was a clear night, if it was totally clear and we had experts looking, but we don't accept that. We wait for this rather random thing where Edom happened to come along. I just find the whole thing difficult.
No. The trouble with that, it's similar to what we just mentioned before. You see, what's going to happen, in future years? It's true. It's midrabanon. It means you're quite right. You've lost that day of work, but more than that, as we said before, Malcolm would be out with his shofar blowing on that Monday. Thinking it actually might not be Rosh Hashanah, but it doesn't matter. It's now become Rosh Hashanah midrabanon, and you've avoided any issues, which the Chachamim can do. They can make a ruling of today being Rosh Hashanah. I mean, it's in reverse, if you like. When you get to Chutz La'aretz on 2 days Yom Tov, they've made the second day Yom Tov midrabanon. Here, we're saying that the first day is going to be a Yom Tov. We're all familiar with Chutz La'aretz having a second day midrabanon.
But I don't understand, but we're worried about the zilzul of losing a Yom Tov. But we don't seem to be worried about losing tefillin and other deraisa things. There must have been lots of mitzvahs which became impossible.
You're right. That's a good point. a good point. And then we've said this point before, that the Chachomim certainly have a power to tell l'shev al taseh not to do a mitzvah. We've seen this before. So they would tell people, no, we don't want you to put tefillin on today. They've got the shoulders, what you're saying, they've got the places to be able to say, we're saying we don't want any, those mitzvahs, well, the mitzvahs should particularly talking about tefillin, no tefillin will be worn, and we're saying, b'shevi al taseh, not positively doing anything, but passively not performing the mitzvahs. That's they would do, and they would continue on. So basically, we're now saying every year that 30th will always be Yom Tov, and there's a possibility that maybe the next day, yes. Most places, yes, unless you were close to the Bezin and you found out that in fact they did accept the witnesses. You're quite right. Let's just have a first couple of lines here of the Gemara, and we'll have to follow this through. Malcolm with a
sorry, quick one. Just this is my ignorance, but when you have a bracha and you say Asher Kiddishanu Mitzvot,
yes.
Is that
it's a very good question. And again, you'd say the same principle. In fact, that's more than the tefillin point. Yes, who commanded us, and they remember the posuk in Shoftim, Lo soso min adov asher yagidu l'cho yom min Yisrael, which means the Chachomim have a power to make a mitzvah, and they are making a mitzvah midrabanan of blowing a shofar, in which case you can say he commanded us to listen to the rabbis. That's really what we're doing. Yeah, it's no different to saying the same nowadays on the second day of Yom Tov in Rosh Hashanah, which we know the calendar. The calendar is the first day the first day of Rosh Hashanah is the first of the month. The second day is the second of Tishri, but nevertheless the Chachomim have said today is Rosh Hashanah as well, although really the month begins the day before. The Chachomim have a power, and then when you say Asher Kiddishonu b'mitzvosov, he commanded us to listen to the rabbis. It's as simple as that. It's a good question.
Norman, sorry.
Yes.
Can I just ask? Sorry, so my internet cut out, but I just in the original time. So, if the witnesses came later on the 30th, then they would go out the next day, and as you said, they'd become increasing distances from Yerushalayim. Will get the message. So once they got the message, then that the yesterday was the Rosh Hashanah, what would they then be able to then become?
Then they would continue saying, so it's no longer Yom Tov.
So, but there'd be different times a day. So they'd start the morning thinking it's Yom Tov and have it's a bit like what Benji is saying, and have the Yom Tov Shmona Esrei. And then comes 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they realize it's Chod, and they change their tag.
There will be change. There will be a change. Although we'll see more about this as this develops. As this we'll see, but at the moment that's what we seem to be saying. According to this, it was only the day before that they're saying everybody keeps that as Yom Tov. The following day would not. There is an additional point. We'll have to look further into that as we see. Once you've started keeping that as Yom Tov, can you change in the middle? That's really what you're saying. And that was Stephen's point. We'll see how that develops. But what actually was the problem? What did they get wrong? They are very interesting. I'm just going to look at the first 2 lines of the Gemara here. Ma kilkul alavim. Now, there's a long Rashi which we can't look at today, but let's just have a look at the Gemara just to get into this. What was the mistake that they made? Yeah. The Gemara says, look at the wording of the Mishnah itself. V'niskalkalu halavim b'shir. So the Gemara asks, Ma kilkalu halavim b'shir. What mistake did they make? That this really was, I'll say, the catalyst that caused them to make a new ruling This is still at the time when the Beis HaMikdash is in existence. A fascinating machlokas here between Israel and Bovel, Eretz Yisrael and Bovel. Hocho Targimu here, and of course this is the Talmud Bavli. So in Bovel, Tirgimu from Lashon Targum, they explained it. Shelo Omru Shira Kol Ika. Imagine, here they are. It's late in the afternoon. The witnesses haven't come. They're not sure whether they're still going to come. Remember, initially they could accept witnesses right to the end of the day, right? So witnesses still may come. So they may offer up the afternoon offering and find out an hour later the witnesses roll up and they've accepted them. So what they learned in Bovel, what this meant, what the Mishnah meant was they decided not to have any song, no Tehillim at all, not the weekday one or the Yom Tov one, because they don't know which one it's going to be. And that was wrong. They lost that opportunity, and it was see the importance of singing and together with this korbanos, the Tehillim and the Levim, they've lost that mitzvah. So therefore, they said, from now on, we are not accepting the witnesses anytime once we bring that afternoon offering. That's how they learned this Mishnah in Bovel. Rabbi Zera, next line, we'll stop with this. Rabbi Zera Omar, she'omru shira shel chol, im tomid shebeinu abayim. They did say the weekday. They looked at their, whatever the watches they were using. The witnesses hadn't rolled up. It was time for the afternoon offering. They assumed they weren't coming. They therefore said the weekday shiur. Then the witnesses came. It turns out they'd made a mistake. Because they'd made a mistake, that's what caused them from then on to change the rule. You with me? So the question is, either they did nothing, which is wrong, much better to know what they're doing and do something, or they said the wrong song, the wrong Tehillim, the wrong song. But whatever happened, something went wrong in the system, and therefore they started having a new ruling which says from the time of Mincha onwards, we will not accept any more witnesses. Okay? We will follow this up.
Norman, this must have. What do you mean? One day it happened like this? I mean, it must have been going on all the time. I mean,
no.
Average every other year.
Let's just have a look at the beginning of that Rashi. You see, normally they would come, it's once you see the moon, and you're going to see the moon quite early on in the evening, you're going to get cracking to come to Beis Din. And in most instances, they would be there in the morning.
It says one time.
Yes, it happened once that they came late. So they were coming, I don't know, maybe it was cloudy near Yerushalayim, and they were coming in from a bit of a distance. And this is what happened. In other words, when I say once, this is the first time this happened. Once this happened once, it never happened again because they had this new ruling in. But until that time, and that's what the first part of the Rashi, which we'll have to repeat again. So you immediately you'll ask, what did they do in the morning? What are they doing in the morning? Is it weekday or Rosh Hashanah? Why was this only a problem in the afternoon? Every morning, I say the morning of that Monday, says Rashi, "B'tomid shebeinu abayim lefi shelo yodu ma shir yomru." Perhaps they'll still. I will have to go back over this. Just drop down for a couple of lines. Abul b'tomid shel shacha ein sofik. There was never a doubt. Why? They don't normally come that early. So the institution was you always have a normal weekday shiur first thing in the morning of the Monday, even if it's Rosh Hashanah. So there was never a problem. But I'd say we'll have to go back over this to clarify exactly how this worked. And then you see another very good question that Tosfos asks is, we seem to be very concerned that what did they mess up? They messed up they brought the afternoon and they got the Shiur wrong. What about Musaf? Well, you could say if the witnesses came after the afternoon offering, there's still time to bring a Musaf. No. There's a ruling which says the last korban of the day is the Talmud in the afternoon. Now, if that's the case, not only did they get the Shiur wrong by not saying it or getting the wrong one, but it means they lost the Musaf. Why doesn't the Mishnah mention the Musaf issue? Do you understand the question? Why is everybody hung up about this? They got the Shiur wrong. They're not just they got the Shiur wrong, they can't bring the Musaf anymore. So that's why it's much better to know where you're up to. And that day is a normal weekday, and therefore it doesn't need a Musaf. That's the question of Tosfos, and I say that's just a trailer for next week, all being well. So that's what we need to be thinking about, and that's the I say that Tosfos goes into that. But meanwhile, I think we'll stop there. We could go on, but
it shows the power of the rabbis that we're still
Yeah.
following their rulings today when
Yes.
we know exactly. So the bracha de batala is more relevant today, and because of the power of the rabbis that we're able to overcome that.
Yes. So that what you're saying, really, yeah, right, quite right. The rabbis have the power to tell people to perform mitzvahs, and this is not like we were saying before, Benji, about not wearing tefillin. This is even stronger than that. It's telling people to blow a shofar when it may not be Rosh Hashanah, but nevertheless they can do that. They have the power, as we said, lo sosor, and it means listen to the rabbis, and you say follow them. So yeah, that's absolutely right. So with that, gentlemen, leave you for this evening. Yeah, very exciting assignment with the new Dayan has been announced.
Yeah, looks